Okay. Hey y'all, it's Karen. Um, got some things that I want to go through and talk to about with the Sarah Boone case. Um, I found some older videos of one of the trials or hearings where she lost her right to counsel. I think it was also one of the hearings where one or two of her lawyers were asking to be removed. So we're going to jump into that, play those, and then we're going to discuss it a little bit and see what you guys think of that. Let's see. This one I think was 11 months ago. So we'll get into this one.
Let's go ahead and call
Here we
up
go.
the Boone case.
State of Florida versus Sarah Boone, 2020 CF 2603. State.
Dave Cacciatore on behalf of the state.
Frank Bankovitz.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Can I have JAC announce themselves as well?
Yes, Audrey Moore for JAC.
All right. So we have multiple matters scheduled this morning, one of which is Mr. Bankwitz's motion to withdraw. My reading of the law is I feel like I have to address that motion first and rule on that before I can address any other motions that would be heard today. So, Mr. Bankwitz, I'll start with you. Tell me why you're moving to withdraw.
Judge, the letters that have been coming to your honor, the derogatory berating of my services in this case, I can't effectively represent her. She doesn't trust me. She calls me a dud, I think, a buffoon, on and on and on and on. And no one should have to endure that type of derogatory comments and expect to effectively represent someone, especially in a murder case.
Ms. Boone, I read your letter dated August 26, 2023, and your letter dated August 30th, 2023. And just so we're clear, I read all of the letters that you send to the court. Whether I respond or not is based on what's in the letter and whether I'm asked to actually do something that's within my purview as a judge or not. If I understand correctly, you have now decided that you think it would be best, in fact, if Mr. Bankwitz was allowed to withdraw. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And you understand by him withdrawing, I'll have to appoint another attorney. Do you understand that?
I do.
And that attorney's not standing here, so we're not going to be able to address, and I'll give the state a chance to talk to me as well, but assuming I grant this, we won't be able to address the other issues that were docketed for today, which means I'm going to have to reset your case for a later date. Do you understand that?
I'm not sure what items it is you're speaking of. I haven't received a copy yet of the letter.
So we're having a hearing today in regards to authorization for payment for an expert that your attorney believes he needs to defend you and issue about the compensation of that expert, which is why JAC is participating today. I don't know if your next lawyer is going to think that that expert's the right person to use, or whether they're going to go a different route after consulting with you. And even if they did, they're not standing here. And once Mr. Bankwitz is out, he's out. He can't argue the motion. So do you understand that?
I fully understand.
All right. Mr. Cacciatore, normally the state takes no position in these issues, but there are limited circumstances when the state doesn't take a position. So are you taking a position on this motion withdrawal, Mr. Cacciatore?
No, this would be one of those times where we would be not taking a position.
All right. So I'm going to grant Mr. Bankwitz's motion to withdraw. I'm going to appoint, find my list, Attorney Winston Hobson to represent Ms. Boone. In regards to the other matters scheduled today, I'm going to take no action on them at this time until Mr. Hobson can, well, in regards to the motion involving JAC, I'm simply going to take no action on that motion at this point in time until Mr. Hobson has a chance to review it and determine whether he wants to proceed with that motion. I will address the pretrial because today was also supposed to be pretrial. Here's what we'll do. Let me just get my calendar up. As far as pretrial conference, I'm going to set this case for pretrial conference on Tuesday, November 28th, and a trial period starting Monday, December 11th. I think any earlier period of time would be unrealistic for Mr. Hobson to get on board, get up to speed with the discovery, and determine how he wants to proceed in regards to any experts. But I will set a status hearing on the case prior to that. I'll set a status hearing on the case Monday, October 30th, 2023 at 10 a.m. That'll be for the purpose of making sure that Mr. Hobson's on board, some sense of where he thinks things are, how realistic he thinks the November pretrial is, any other matters I need to address with him at that time. Now, Ms. Boone, in just a minute, they're going to take you back to the Orange County Jail. I'm going to suggest that you talk to Mr. Hobson about the various other issues you raised in your letter dated August 30th, 2023. One other thing I want to talk to you about, we had this conversation once in the past. Clearly, your working relationship with Mr. Bankwitz was such that it deteriorated to the point where the two of y'all just couldn't work together to defend your case. So I'm not going to try to referee how that played out, why that unfolded the way it did. But one thing I want to caution you about, if this becomes a problem on another court-appointed attorney, I'm going to look more closely at what the alleged disputes are. You have a right to a court-appointed lawyer. There are certain decisions a defendant gets to make in the defense of their case that are absolutely theirs, such as whether they go to trial or not, such as whether they testify or not. But there are many decisions in a case that a lawyer gets to make. And while you certainly have a right to consult with your lawyer and discuss with your lawyer, they don't automatically just do whatever you say. They use their professional judgment and experience and look at the evidence, look at the law, and do the best they can. Also, you've got court-appointed counsel. As I've explained to you before, court-appointed counsel rarely have the luxury of representing one person. and only having one case to focus on. I have concerns that your expectations of what any court-appointed counsel might do as far as spending time with you and the depth and degree of communication may be unrealistic expectations. You always have the right to retain a lawyer to represent you, and then that's between you and that lawyer. You can demand whatever expectations that you have as part of that agreement. But when it's a court-appointed lawyer, you have to accept and understand that they have other cases, other courtrooms, other responsibilities. And I'm cognizant of that when I'm addressing these types of issues about communication. So that's just food for thought, nothing to do today. I don't need a response from you. I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that and were thinking about that as we proceeded forward. So again, the court minutes reflect that I'm court continuing pretrial. I have granted a motion to withdraw. I have appointed Mr. Hobson to represent the defendant, and I'm taking no action on the motion, the ex parte motion for cost directed where JAC is responding. Ms. Boone will be returned to the Orange County Jail pending disposition of her case.
Thank you, Judge.
All right.
I'm not able to say anything.
That's his information.
On February 24th, 2020, there was a crisis at Sarah Boone's Winter Park, Florida home, prompting her to call 911.
My boyfriend is dead. My boyfriend and I were playing last night, and I put him in a suitcase and we were playing.
Deputies say Sarah Boone and her boyfriend, George Torres, were drinking when she put him inside of a suitcase, zipped it up, and taunted him while recording on her cell phone. Sarah says that's when she went to sleep, finding her boyfriend dead the next day.
I finally decided to come downstairs at like 12:30-ish, whatever it is, and I was like, I forgot he was in the suitcase.
Sarah Boone is charged with second-degree murder. And tonight, our body language experts are breaking down Sarah Boone's own statements to police.
We had a good time sitting on the back porch, having wine, and smoking a couple of cigarettes, and then decided to go inside and literally paint, do puzzles, and play.
All right, tonight we're going to take some time to break down the body camera and interrogation videos of Sarah Boone. You remember Sarah. Boone is accused of zipping up her boyfriend, George Torres, in a suitcase and leaving him in it to die. Now, she claims it was an accident, that they were drinking, they started playing a hide-and-seek type game, and then she fell asleep and forgot that he was in the suitcase. Well, she told this story to police a few times, and we have it on tape. So we know what her words are telling us, but what does her body language say? Well, we have just the right people to help us figure that out. Let's bring in our expert, joining in Orlando, Florida. Jury consultant, body language expert, and founder of the Human Behavior Academy, providing on-demand courses in how to spot a liar in 7 seconds or less. Susan Constantine. Susan, great to see you. And in Alexandria, Virginia, body language expert and New York Times best-selling author of You Can't Lie to Me, Janine Driver is with us as well, and you can check her out on TikTok at Body Language Institute. Thank you both for joining me, as always. All right, what I want to look at first is the body camera video from the officers who responded to Boone's 911 call. She did call 911. Now, in this clip, the officer asked Boone to explain what happened and how George Torres ended up dead in the suitcase. Important stuff. And it is Boone's first official telling of the story. So let's watch this together now, and then you can tell me what you see.
We have a puzzle that we started in there. Okay. We've been doing art, trying to take the stuff off the wall to make new art put up there, like having a good time with one another. But we're drinking, we had a bottle of wine last night. Okay. So then it's like, we decided to play hide and seek, right? Okay. So he gets in the suitcase, okay? Who is this guy? That's my ex-husband, my former husband. How did he live here with you guys? No. I called him over here. Okay, okay. I didn't know what to do. Okay. I didn't know what to do. Okay. So then he came over here. Here, let's talk in private, okay? I called you guys. I tried giving you CPR. The problem is I fell asleep. I fell asleep. When did you do CPR? This morning, when I found it. Before you called? Yes! It's 1 o'clock right now. I tried I was awake, but I actually got out of the bed at like 12:30ish, whatever. So I came downstairs, and I was like, oh, he's in the suitcase still. And that's when I found him, and I took him out, and I tried doing CPR, and then I called him, and then I called you guys.
Did he get here before the fire department got here?
Who?
Your husband or your ex-husband?
Yes.
Okay. Where does he live at?
Right down the street.
Okay. So you were playing and who zipped him up in?
I did, but then I fell asleep.
Okay. You're okay. I wasn't here. I'm just trying to figure out what happened.
I fell asleep, so I don't know if he suffocated or like had an aneurysm or a heart attack or what.
What kind of medical conditions does he have?
None that I know of.
Nothing that you know of.
None
You didn't
that I
take
know
any
of.
medicine?
No. All we had was a bottle of wine. Literally, just a bottle of wine.
Okay.
Doing puzzle artwork. Then we decided to play hide and seek. That's all that happened.
All right, Susan and Janine, one thing we know, as sure as the sun is going to rise, defendants will always try to minimize what they've done in a situation like this. But anyway, that's why we go to you guys. So, Susan, let me start with you. What'd you see there?
There was a lot to unpack here. And first of all, you could take this frame by frame by frame because there's so much information in everything that she's talking about. The first thing I want you to notice is that her lack of empathy. She doesn't show any sort of emotion, right? She's talking about that she's playing with these puzzles or inside. She's giving gestures that are illustrating that that's what she was doing. But you'll see a moment where all of a sudden there was a shift, a little pause, a little hesitation, and that's what she's talking about, that they were playing these hide and seek games. So what I saw in that very short little piece, there was something that occurred from when they were playing with these puzzles or putting these puzzles together to where they began playing hide and seek. The other thing is that what she talks about is that she sets already the stage talking about that they had a bottle of wine. The reason why she's doing that is she's setting the stage of why she forgot, so to speak, or she fell asleep, or the reason why she fell asleep. The other things I'd like you to notice too is her change in her demeanor. Anytime you see a change of their demeanor, there's a different change in their state of mind. She goes from being more frantic, you see her in these frantic moments. She becomes extremely angry. That's what's really unusual about a case like this, because usually when someone has died and someone that's close to them, you're going to see a sense of sadness. You're going to see a sense of remorse, a sense of grief. You don't see that here. She actually gets angry and showing aggression towards the police officer. That's associated with guilt. Now, I'm not saying that she didn't fall asleep. I think that she did at some point, but I think it was after she was already taunting him, went upstairs, fell asleep, knowing that he was in there, and then she came down, and then she goes, oh my God, which is where they tend to kind of go, oh, I lost my head in that. But there is so much here to unpack, Michael, that it would take hours to unpack every little segment here, because there's a lot. Janine, what'd you see?
Fair enough. Yeah, Janine, I want to go to you because I just want to say quickly, I had that note here that I didn't see much remorse, but then I also had the note to say she was possibly grieving, so there is that denial phase. I thought that might have something to do with it, but love to hear what you got to say.
Well, I saw surprise here. So the eyebrows are up and curved, and then we saw the whites of the eyes. And what I like to say is when white eyes are here, fear is here. So this fear that is showing up, I don't, in my expert opinion, based on what I was seeing with lots of this footage, I don't think that this was a premeditated murder. I think that she was like kicking it back a little, had too much, and, did punish him. The neighbor called in and told the police that they heard a loud thumping falling down the stairs. And of course, there were different injuries with him. We didn't show it here, but as much as body language is important, there's something called statement analysis, which is the words matter. And she said we had just a bottle of wine, just as a minimizing word right here, instead of we had one bottle of wine. When she called 911, she said this, and I think it's critical. My boyfriend, so my boyfriend is ownership of my boyfriend. She didn't say this guy I was dating. She's saying my boyfriend, which is ownership, saying she's got this boyfriend. My boyfriend and I were playing last night, and I put him in a suitcase, and which is a relationship, we were playing and kinda hide and seek. These start-stop sentences are very suspicious. And when we hear a kinda, we heard a lot of kindas with Amber Heard with the Johnny Depp case. I say when there's a like or a kinda, there's more to find. So I think there's more to find here. And I think Susan pointed out a lot of the body language is incongruent. Listen, I've been with people who have lost loved ones and they're like, bring them back. I mean, there's no one way. We all experience grief, of course, but you'll often see like, bring them back. Please tell me they're not dead, please. And instead, she's setting up the case right now with her body language. Her hand gestures are really big, trying to convince us. And our hands are fascinating because there are more connections in the brain to our hands than any other part of our body. Wow. So our hands are important, and we see lots of hands movements. I don't know if you're going to play some clips when she's being interrogated or interviewed by law enforcement, but we see a lot of gestures that I hope we get to talk about. What does this mean when she's doing this to police?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, she's telling her story, and as I said, it sounds like a little bit of minimizing, but also, like you said, she wants folks to believe her story, so it's interesting. All right, Susan and Janine, stand by, because we do have a lot more to squeeze in. We do have to squeeze in a break right now, though, but we'll continue breaking down Sarah Boone's body language when we return.
It's natural. You're nervous. You have the anxiety. You're scared, right? It's okay. You don't have to.
I don't know how to. I'm just waiting for whoever, so. I mean, I know that I was in bed probably by 12:30? Okay. Well, I went upstairs at least, and I fell asleep. Okay. Forgetting that he was in the suitcase.
So you guys were playing the hide and go seek?
Yes.
And at some point you put him in the suitcase?
No, he got in the suitcase. So he thought it would be funny to be put in the suitcase. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to joke with you and I'll zip you up and make him, squirm a little bit, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But then I fell asleep. Mm-hmm. I fell asleep.
Where was the suitcase?
Right where it is.
Right down there?
Yes.
You zipped him in there?
Yes.
Thought he would be funny, a little joke?
It was. We both were laughing about it. Okay. And then I fell asleep.
Where did you fall asleep at?
Upstairs.
In your bedroom?
Yes.
Okay.
Totally forgetting that he was in the suitcase still.
Okay.
All right, there you heard Sarah Boone admit that she was the one who zipped up her boyfriend in that suitcase. Now, he would later die inside that suitcase. Boone, of course, claims it was a game gone wrong and that he was in on that game, but investigators, they don't buy her story. They believe this was no game and have charged Boone with his murder. All right, our body language experts are still with us to break this all down, Susan Constantine and Janine Driver. All right, the next piece of body camera video that we're going to look at is the one that I think will be quite telling. Here, Sarah Boone is talking to detectives about when they'll inform her boyfriend's family of his death. And you'll see she becomes quite animated and upset during this discussion, claiming that his family is going to think that she killed him. Let's watch.
So, but do you guys tell his family, like, today or after tomorrow?
We have to. It's the law.
We have to go make contact with the family.
Yeah.
They have to be notified.
Once our investigation is pretty much complete here, once we leave here, we will be going to...
But again, you'll know. I'm not going to just go and do it without you knowing. You'll know. We'll talk to you prior to doing anything like that.
But how, I mean, I understand what you guys and how you do it, and, you know, so, but, like, what do you just tell him? What do you tell his parents? Like, what's the reason?
He passed away.
We tell them what we know at that point.
Yeah.
We tell them the truth.
And that we're going to be waiting for the autopsy results, and I will be at the autopsy in the morning, and hopefully the doctor will be able to give me some of what they think and see.
Yeah. We'll give them their number. They can contact them and get it from them.
So yeah, they're gonna know what we're here, what we're investigating, and that
They're gonna think I killed him.
Why would they think that?
They always have said that. They've always have said that.
What have they
I
said?
told you it's because I'm the blue-eyed white dragon. That's what they call me. Because they don't want him with me. So he's basically just not really been around his family because he chooses me over them. Even after I've encouraged him numerous times to go over there and see his family.
All right, Janine Driver, I want you to let me know what you saw.
Well, first of all, when she says they're going to think I killed him, this is indicative of someone who did not premeditate it, because if she premeditated it, we would hear something more along the lines of minimizing language. They're going to think I'm the one that hurt him. They'll minimize it. The fact she says kill, it says a lot here about whether it was premeditated, which I think it most likely probably was not. Talk about my own squishy language right there. This is a big body language pose, though, that I was not surprised seeing here. Her elbows come out, and I say when elbows are out, there is shock about or this panic about. We saw this with Chris Watts. You may remember Chris Watts. He murdered his pregnant wife, Shanann, and his 2 young daughters, Celeste and Bella. When the police camera was videotaping him, watching videotape footage of a neighbor whose neighbor's camera faced Chris Watts' driveway, and they show Chris Watts putting something into his truck early in the hours of the morning when he said he was sleeping, which evidently later we find out was Shanann. And he's watching this footage. He's looking at his phone, and all of a sudden, when he sees the truck back up, and you can see a gas can go in, and this body, you see elbows out. But we also see this like in a basketball game. You go to retrieve the basketball or get a rebound, and by mistake, you push it in the opposing team's net. Elbows out, shock is about. We see that with Tom Brady when he wins the Super Bowl over and over again, right? So we see those elbows out. So we have that shock. And last but not least, before you pass it to Susan, is this high-level pacifying. The higher the pacifier, the more stress and anxiety. This is a term Joe Navarro, retired FBI agent, came up with, and it's such a great term. Babies pacify by comfort themselves with a pacifier. Adults pacify by touching one piece of our body to another. Who's on the phone? 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 Who stresses you out the most? This person. This high pacifying where she's ventilating. Look at her hair. Her fingers go through like a comb. It's ventilation, and then this little neck massage. Her fight and flight is kicking up. You even see swaying in the beginning. She wants to run, but she can't. So it's coming out in these massive pacifiers. Another face touch here. I'll save some stuff here for Susan.
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna give another clip to Susan now, because in this next clip, Susan, Boone talks about how scared she is, and she tells the detective that this was not intentional. Let's watch.
I'm like really scared. I want you guys to know that.
You have all these deputies here, so while we're here, nothing's going to happen to you. Before we go and make any notifications, you'll have plenty of time to leave or do what you need to do. Whatever you need to do, okay? And we can talk about that more in length, but yeah, it's not going to be a surprise.
Real quick, and then, but like, I don't, like, this was totally like not intentional. Like, that's what I'm scared about too. Like,
we'll have all the answers. We'll have a lot more answers tomorrow after medical examiner looks at it. Like she said, what you're seeing here is common. This is us coming out to the scene. Yeah, his age, no real medical history that we know of. For him to have passed away, we come out and we do an investigation. Yeah. We come out and do an investigation. The medical examiner's office will be sending people out. This is what we do. If he was 75 years old and had a history of heart condition, we wouldn't be here.
I just don't know what I don't know what it is.
Exactly. And that's what we're here to find out. We're just here to get the answers.
All right, Susan, your thoughts?
Yeah, so when Janine was talking about the pacifiers, you know, this is this hands to the neck. She has these, it's always up around through the neck, and she's very worried and concerned. And when you look at her body language, you can see that she's very small. She kind of closes her body language in. When a person is like that, they're not feeling very confident. You can tell that she's feeling fearful. She even says the word, I'm really feeling scared right now. When she puts her hands up like this, it was consistent with her words, I'm really scared. You can also see her lips kind of rolling in. And in other moments too, she's kind of biting her lip. She's this bottom lip, she'll kind of tuck inside. These are a lot of these kind of concern, worry, kind of responses. But overall, what we're looking at are the self-soothing gestures, the picking of the fingernails, the worriness here, the hands up and through here, the collapsing of her body language. She's not feeling very confident here. She is worried, but she says one word there, and I'd like to go back to figure out what maybe Janine heard it, is she says, she pops in and she says, run. So I'd like to find out from Janine what she thought about that.
Janine, go ahead.
Yeah, what was it? What was the word?
I thought she said run.
Run.
The police officer was talking to her. She jumped in there and she says, run? And I thought, is she actually saying, well, I could actually leave, leave and escape? So I was wondering if that, a lot of times, go ahead, dear.
Yeah, well, that could be a Freudian slip that could come out here. She said a lot of different things. I wrote down a bunch here throughout this interviewing, which is in all honesty, she said that several times. She does start-stop sentences, which are congruent with someone who's being deceptive. But here's and run could be a Freudian slip. You know, the DC sniper, John Allen Muhammad, went into trial and he said, by the grace of God, you find me guilty. I mean, innocent. So these Freudian slips. So what Susan may be picking up here could be this Freudian slip of run, wanting to get out of there, because you can see that swaying in the beginning and then it stops. In that small slumped forward posture, again, lips disappear. When we don't like what we see or hear, our lips disappear. Here's the deal, though, if I'm gonna land the plane on body language and statement analysis, is all of these signs are also indicative of someone who's telling the truth. There is no pants on fire, because if you all of a sudden killed your boyfriend, then you'd be stressed too. What's missing, I think, and perhaps Susan would agree, what's missing here that is critical, I was thinking of that TV show House. He would write all the problems, heartache, broken leg, but what's missing? What's missing is fear and sadness that her boyfriend is dead. It is not making an appearance here. This is the very first time police are getting here. Where is the fear? Where's the sadness? She is nervous about consequences for her. We are not seeing any sadness, nothing here. There's no sadness or fear.
Yeah, there's no remorse. Now remember, she's not charged with intentional murder. She's charged with second-degree murder. And, if you're a layperson, you don't know the difference between intentional. You just want them to know, I didn't mean to do this. Still doesn't mean you're not guilty of murder, depending on what the facts are. So she's dealing with that as well. But there was something else. This has nothing to do with movement or body language, but more behavior. And I wanted to ask if you guys have any thoughts on it. She calls her ex-husband before the police. He's at the scene when they arrive. read anything into that at all?
If I can chime in, first of all, the ex-husband said, and he looked like he was telling the truth in my opinion. I watched the video of him. He said he started calling her at 11 o'clock because she was supposed to pick up her son. That was her day to pick up the son. So he started calling, he said every 30 minutes, he was calling at 11:30. So I'm not sure if she called him or she just answered his call. In my opinion, if I was a fly on the wall, I think she woke up, saw that he was dead, panicked for a couple hours before calling the police. I also don't think she was resuscitating him because I've been there where people have done CPR and you're out of breath. 1, 2, 3. And she's like number 16 and having small talk with the operator on the other end of the phone. I don't think she was doing it. So I don't think it's suspicious that he was there because he's saying he called her. He also says she's a big drinker and she's a big drinker and that this is a problem in the past that they've experienced. She doesn't ever like together.
Susan, any thoughts on that?
Yes, I think that she felt, her ex-husband, she's still very close to. She still has a very close relationship with him. So it's obvious that the two of them still are very connected, even though they are co-parenting. The first person that's on her list she called was him. So when you look at the order in which somebody calls them, and Janine will know because we've both been trained very much alike, it's that, the order in which they list their names or people that they reach out to are the level of people or importance in their life. And so when she says, for an example, and Janine pointed on this, is that my boyfriend and I were playing the game. I just want to let you know that when you're looking at, yes, the my is the closeness, boyfriend has a position in her life, yes, is in the statement analysis. We do statement analysis in the human behavior lab. But here's one thing I want you to notice is when she says my boyfriend and I, you look at my and I, how far they are apart. So that's something they don't normally do. Hide and seek is not one of the regular games that they play. This was an instance where they did it maybe for the first time, but this is not a regular occurrence. So in what they say really matters. Every word matters. And even in the 911 call from the very beginning was setting precedents of why the event happened, because she was talking about that they were having alcohol, they were drinking. She was setting the stage for all of us. And that's what people tend to do. What they say, the first sentence they speak is usually the reason why the event actually occurred. So in statement analysis, yes, go ahead, Janine.
Well, I was just going to say, O.J. Simpson, when he was asked about his relationship with Nicole, said we were a normal couple. We had our downs and ups. So what Susan's saying here is order matters, right? So the order matters on these things. And of course, we have a videotape footage of her videotaping the suitcase and him saying, I can't breathe, honey, I can't breathe. No, seriously. And she goes, well, then stop talking. And then she walked up the stairs and went to sleep. Yeah. Just like if you're drinking and driving, you kill somebody, it is murder. Yeah. I believe this is murder, and I believe she's going to be found guilty.
Yeah, I agree too. Yeah. And I think ultimately what we heard on that videotape that you're talking about when she was videotaping with her phone doesn't match up quite with the story she's telling. And I think that's a problem. All right, Susan Constantine and Janine Driver, you're going to be sticking with me while we take this quick, short break. Coming up next, much, much more on Sarah Boone. Keep it right here on Co TV.
On the docket tonight in Iowa County, Wisconsin, the possessed by evil murder trial. Sean Pickett charged with murder, accused of beating and stabbing his mother and dog to death. He claims he was hearing evil voices.
During the course of your interview, Mr. Pickett admitted to killing his mother. Yes, he did.
Get you ready for the next live trial on Court TV.
And hope today.
Nobody knew George better than I did. I say that I knew George better than himself. And I tried in every way, shape, and form. Ask everyone. I helped him. I took care of him. I missed him a lot, and I didn't even sleep last night.
Welcome back to Closing Argument. I'm Michael Ayala in for Vinnie Politan. Now, before the break, we broke down Boone's body language when talking to the officers who responded to her 911 call that her boyfriend, George Torres, was dead inside of a suitcase. Well, now what we want to do is take a look at some of the statements she made to police during her interrogation. Now, here, the dynamics are a bit different. Some time has passed. She's in a room with a detective, and she's had some time to calm down, to think, maybe get some perspective on all this. Well, still with us to give us their expertise, our body language experts, Susan Constantine and Janine Driver. All right, The first clip of Boone's interrogation I'd like to show you guys is when the detectives confront her about a video Boone took inside when Torres was inside that suitcase. Now in it, you can hear Torres telling her he can't breathe while she taunts him. Now she claims she doesn't remember taking any videos or photos on her phone, but what does her body language say? Let's take a look and then we'll discuss.
You said you played hide and seek like probably 3 times in your relationship.
Mm-hmm.
When you have played, have you ever zipped him up in a suitcase prior?
No.
Okay. So it was just kind of like that prop was there, and it was there,
Yes.
and it was in play because...
Why do you say it like that, though?
I would never do that.
You would never zip them up in a suitcase?
Well, I mean,
we were playing.
Do you remember making any videos or maybe having any anything, any photos, videos that you remember doing on your phone on Sunday?
No.
No. So I have something that I want to show you that we found, and it was from your phone.
Mm-hmm. Do I have to watch this? I continuously throw up. I don't sleep. I don't want to see it, if that's okay.
Well, it's on your phone, and you can either explain it or we take it for what it is.
Yeah. We're just trying to give you the opportunity to tell us what's going on. That's it.
It's that long?
2 minutes.
No.
For everything you've done to me. For everything you've done to me. You.
That's you, your voice.
Guys, this is killing me right now.
So this image is upside down, and then this small video that occurred 11 minutes later, it's flipped over the other way, closer to your dining room table.
Okay.
Now he's obviously still in there. So he didn't, how did it go from the back to the front?
I flipped it.
Okay.
My plan was not to go upstairs and go to sleep.
Well, that's what you did.
Yeah.
But not intentional, though.
All right, Susan Constantine, what do you see with her body language when she's confronted with some pretty damning evidence?
I mean, big time, okay? So she doesn't really know what's on that videotape. She doesn't have a clue. She knows, I know subconsciously, and she remembers because you have these feeder memories. You know that that's stored somewhere in your subconscious. You know that there's this video. She doesn't know, they know. So that's why you see her body language. She's kind of passive aggressive. She's got some issues with covert narcissism. And you see her collapsed body language, her hands cupped very neatly inside of her, between her legs. This is low confidence. She's concerned, worried. But then when she is suspicious, right? She's suspicious of what the investigator's asking her. You can see her eye movements going towards him like, what do you know that I don't want you to know? And then when she realizes that they've got video footage, she shifts her body language. She almost blocks, like, I don't even want to know. Casey Anthony did the very same thing when she realized, when she was in those, when they found out that there was information that the police officers found out, and her body language completely shut down, moved over. But then she gets very aggressive. You see her arms kind of winging out like this. When she feels attacked, she's an attack dog, and she's going to stand up for herself, and she doesn't care. She's going to do it no matter what. But when I look at her body language overall, she knows what's coming. She wants to know if the investigators know what she knows. And you could see this passive aggressiveness in her, and that she tries to detach because she knows what's on that videotape, and she's fearful and she's blocking. She doesn't even want, like, oh, storm's coming, let me go into protection mode, Yeah. So anyway, there's a lot to unpack there. Janine, what'd you see?
You know, I think you hit the nail on the head, Susan. You know, this push back, when we see people with our hand gestures, this is go away. You know, it's pushing away. And she's even saying, you guys are killing me here. I don't want to see this. And, you know, hand gestures are so interesting. It's the best tool that we have as human beings through evolution. A study was done with little kids, and little kids in elementary school are asked to use hand gestures while solving a math problem. By simply using more hand gestures by solving a math problem, guess what happens? They create more strategies to think quickly on their feet. It increases your ability to have cognitive thinking. So with these hand gestures, the more that we see them, and as a matter of fact, as this video footage goes on, you see a lot more hand gestures. This is actually tapping into the part of her brain. Remember, I said earlier, the brain is more connected to our hands than any other part of our body. The more hand gestures we have, the more her cognitive thinking will begin to increase, and she'll come up with one solution after another. We saw this with Casey Anthony. We see this with many murderers that are, in my opinion, let me reframe that. She was found guilty of lying to police, but Jodi Arias was found guilty of murder. And we see these hand gestures come up quite a bit with both Casey Anthony, with Jodi Arias, with, you know, the Chris Watts of the world, and of course here with this case here.
Yeah, and you see it a lot with TV anchors as well. I use my hands all the time, and now I know why. It helps me think. It helps me think better. I knew it subconsciously, but you're absolutely right.
That's why you're so fast on your feet, Michael. You're doing a great job.
I need my hands. They help me think. You know, what I thought when I saw it, as soon as she got confronted with the video, she may not have known what was on the video, but I think she knew what she did. And she was wondering, or it seemed like she knew what was coming was something that wasn't going to be good for her. That's essentially what I saw.
Yeah. Well, listen, Michael, she says she forgot this video or forgot doing that. And then she says, I flipped him over. Well, why did the suitcase go from this side to this side? I flipped him over, duh. It's like, she needs to let her brain know what story she's sticking with and stick with it.
That's right. Yeah, and that's part of the problem.
And that's the point too, is what Janine's talking about, and all of us are seeing, is that everything that she says can be examined. So it's in her body language we can examine. We can examine every single word that she speaks. We can examine the evidence that's there. Also her voice stress if she's lying. All of these pieces, there's so much available to us now that we never had before, and it's getting better and better. And we've got technology now that actually can do the same thing.
Yeah, and I got to end it there, guys, because I'm running out of time. We're coming up against the break, but this was fantastic fun. We'll be doing more of this in the future for sure. Thank you so much for joining me. And we will continue to track this case, guys. Right now, Sarah Boone is set to stand trial on July 25th. Again, thank you so much to my experts, Susan Constantine and Janine Driver.
Our story begins in the small coastal town of Bluffton.
That's just, I don't know. I just can't imagine putting somebody in a suitcase. But another thing, like 2 months ago, that I want to share, is this little stream here about Sarah Boone and her 7th lawyer when this attorney asked to be removed. Or no, I think this attorney is the one that Sarah Boone wanted to have removed. So I'm gonna start this. So we'll get into this.
A Fox 35 update now. A snotty attitude. That's how the woman accused of zipping her boyfriend up in a suitcase and leaving him to die described her newest lawyer today. Sarah Boone's trial has been delayed several times, mainly because she's been through 7 lawyers. Fox 35's Manny Martinez hears from Boone in court.
I feel that she is untruthful with me and full-blown prejudice against me.
Accused killer Sarah Boone is fed up with her lawyer again.
I have told her from day one that her snotty attitude was inappropriate, and I try very hard to bear with her and her attitude.
3 years ago, investigators say Boone zipped her boyfriend up in a suitcase and left him inside to die. Boone says the pair was drinking during a game of hide and seek. She claims she fell asleep, leaving him trapped. The trial was supposed to start last month after many delays, and it's being pushed back again.
As my attorney, I'm shocked that she has a proposed trial date, considering the fact that I have not seen anything.
Boone has been through lawyer after lawyer. She's currently on her 7th. And today in court, Boone laid out all her issues with this lawyer, even writing a 58-page letter to the judge. Her lawyer doesn't disagree that the two of them struggle to get along.
At this point, we're at that impasse of, if she walks out of every conference that I have with her, I've spent probably 20 hours, a little bit more, a little bit less, with Miss Boone. She has lots of lists, lots of questions.
Going as far as saying Boone can only request one more attorney.
She gets one last lawyer and either works or it doesn't.
Or
she can ask you to represent herself. She has the right to. You have a Faretta hearing and determine whether she's capable.
the judge, frustrated with today's hearings, said it's time to set a trial date for this case.
Here's what we're going to do. I'm inclined to go ahead and figure out where we can set this thing for trial and then kind of work backwards from there.
Manny Martinez, Fox 35 News.
The judge set the trial for October 7th.
Wow.
On February 24th, 2020, there was a crisis at Sarah Boone's Winter Park, Florida home.
So that was her 7th attorney. And then her last attorney, and now she's representing herself. So we're kind of sort of caught up. These are the only attorney hearings that I have found yet. But I'll keep searching and see if I can find any more and see what we can get going. But that's pretty much the gist of this one, and then soon I think the trial will be starting. So, but I've kept y'all long enough. Y'all have a fantastic day and weekend, and I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for joining me. Don't forget to give it a like. Just hit that thumbs up. It helps the algorithm a little bit. Thanks so much, guys. Y'all have a great day. Here's the outro.